That was the second discussion point. Now, third, when we say resource, we very much misconstrue the idea of resource. A lot of people misunderstand the idea of resource. Anything which is found in the nature, anything which has economic value, anything which has utility for human being, anything which can satisfy human want is a resource. That is how it is defined. But we geographers have different perspective on it. We geographers are smarter than an economist. So, what is a resource? Maybe I will have to go into the details which have been, the discussions which have been laid down by none other than the father of resource geography, and he is Zimmermann, the great Zimmermann. He differentiated the term resource from neutral stuff and from the naturally occurring substances. So if you go by the definition from the other economists or other geographers before Zimmermann, the idea of resource was that any naturally occurring substances which have some economic value or which has capacity or potential to satisfy human want or which can serve the humanity or human welfare to help the purpose of human welfare in general. This is how the definitions were carved out, But now the new definition after Zimmermann has totally changed. And I tell you one thing, let me give you one example. I am a human resource, no doubts whatsoever. I am a human resource because I can teach, I can function, I am in my work has economic value, and my functionality is accepted norm in the society. It doesn't go against the legality or any constitutional provisions. So obviously I'm economic and I'm a functional man. So I am a resource going by the definition of. But Zimmermann says, ध्यान से सुनना, Zimmermann says that resource is not the substance itself. Resource is not the physical entity. Resource is not that tangible, naturally occurring substance. Resource is not a material. Resource is the functionality of that substance, or resource is the qualitative property of that substance which has the capacity to serve or capacity to propitiate the human demand. So I am the physical Alok Ranjan is not the resource. Touch me. This is the tangible Alok Ranjan. 2 eyes here, whatever. So this tangible Alok Ranjan, this physical entity is not the resource. My functionality, my ability to function. So that ability to function, that functionality, this knowledge, this power to perform, that is what is resource. So resource is not a physical concept, rather resource will become a functional concept, and resource does not refer to the substance, it refers to the functionality of that substance or the qualitative property of that substance. That was the difference created by Zimmermann some 50 years back, and since then the meaning of resource has changed, at least for the geographers. And I will be dealing with resource geography again in economic geography and also in India paper too. So be ready for all those number of theories and the number of ideas on resource. The entitlement theory of the Nobel laureate, Amartya Sen, the global theory, the globalization theory on resource, the resource curse theory. So a lot of theories are there on resource. It will be very interesting to learn resource and economic geography in the coming days. But for today, resource is not the substance or the physical substance, physical material, physical entity. Resource is the functionality of that physical substance. So taking that example again, say if I go nuts tomorrow, if I become insane tomorrow, my same physical appearance, my same attires, my same my hands, my hair, my everything, eyes, nose, everything will remain the same. But I am not a resource because I cannot function. I have gone insane. So resource is not this physical body. I can touch, I can tap, I can feel that there is a body. This is not a resource. The functionality of this body system is the resource. I hope you understood. I tell you, coal was a resource. Coal is a great resource for medieval time. Industrial revolution was based on coal and steam power. Now, coal was always found in the same rock system at the same locations even 1,000, 5,000 years back. But since we didn't have the technology to use the coal as an energy resource, so coal was never considered resource. So our knowledge and our technological application converts or transforms any naturally occurring substance into resource. So resource is going to be a functional concept as well as a technology based concept and as well as a knowledge based concept. I hope you are getting it. I'm going very brief on it, but as I promised, in economic geography I will come back with many more ideas on resource. But you need to understand what is marine resource. So anything found in the ocean is not a resource. Anything which is hanging in the water is not a resource. Anything which is settled on the ocean bottom is not a resource. Resource is one for which we have technology. Resource is one for which we have knowledge. This petroleum was always found in the nature. But in Drake's Pennsylvania, someone discovered that this petroleum has energy, and it can run machines. So petroleum then was considered a resource because we have the knowledge of it and then we developed the technology for it. Thorium is lying in the monazite Kerala sands and for millions of years, maybe. Millions of years, I'm serious. And why don't you go there and collect some bucket full of monazite sand and keep at your home and then consider that this is my resource, this is my wealth? No, because it is all useless because we don't have the technology today to use resource and there is no demand for it. So demand based concept bhi hai resource. Resource is a demand based concept. Please understand that the resource is also a demand based concept. I can take the example of Koderma mines. So in Koderma, we have the world's largest deposits of mica there. Now, this mica is losing ground in industries and there is no demand for mica. After the synthetic fiber discovery of the synthetics and all in Germany of the Second World War, the demand of mica actually is falling rapidly. And all those mines are like lying bare and nobody is reaching that place for any kind of economic activity. And those mines are begging today, come, take something from us. But there are no takers today in Koderma. So just think of this situation when there is no demand, even if we have technology, they cannot be called resource for humans. Okay, so resource is going to be a demand based concept, right? So maybe crab is found all around the southern coast of India, but crab is not so much in demand in India. The vegetarian Indians are not going to eat anything like crab or those crustaceans and those, kind of octopus kind of things, those saap or Indians are not going to medhak. Chinese are going to eat. So medhak and saap or these are not our resource. They cannot be considered food resource for Indian, meaning resource is a cultural concept as well. Please consider again, resource is a cultural concept. How resource is a cultural concept? Maybe a cow. Cow is a mother for us. And there is a logic, there is a science behind it also, because once we are born, we are dependent upon mother's milk, and after when we become 1 year or something, then we shift to cow milk, because cow milk is, the merits of cow milk. Okay, so we consider cow as mother, the second mother, right? So this is part of our culture. Now same cow is considered food in West Asia, in Australia, in New Zealand, in most of Europe, in Brazil, in South America, in North America, everywhere. It is considered food. So beef, cattle are actually reared, and beef cattle are sent to the machines, and the machines will cut them into pieces. I know this is happening in India also, so it's all fine. So resource is a cultural concept. Until you accept something, some natural substance or natural thing, natural object culturally, then until that it is not resource. So resource is a technology based concept, resource is a cultural concept, resource is a what? Economic concept as well, of course. Resource is a functional concept. So many ideas are there for resource. Okay. And the last, how to differentiate between resource and wealth. There is a difference between resource and wealth. I have gold. Say, I have some 5 kgs of gold. I don't possess any gold in my home. Red mat karwa dena. But I say, I have taken an example that I have 5 kgs of gold. This 5 kg of gold is not my resource. This is my wealth. What is one which has functionality will be resource, and one which has exchangeability is wealth. There is a difference. Wealth will have exchangeability. It can be used for trade, commerce, but for production, for manufacturing, for processing, for fabrication, when you use a particular natural substance or natural occurring thing or nature's gift, then it becomes resource. There is a difference between the wealth and the resource. I hope you are getting it. And there is also a difference between neutral stuff and resource. If the resources are lying in Antarctica, say gold deposits are there in Antarctica, but we are not interested in mining there because of maybe the economic things or whatever. Or maybe the petroleum is there in the Ross Sea, petroleum is there in the Barents Sea, Laptop Sea. They're all in Siberian Arctic Sea. So if resources are there and none of the countries are interested there, so they are neutral stuff. They are not considered resource until they become functional, until they participate in economic sense. So this was some briefing on what is resource. Now in terms of the oceanic resources or the marine resources, what meaning shall we construe here? That anything which is found in the ocean is not resource. Anything which is hanging in the ocean water is not resource. Anything which is lying on the bed of the ocean is not resource until we have technology or until we have economic viability to use it, right? So I hope that your concept on resource, maybe I could purely say that the pure concept of geography on resource has been discussed, and I hope it will benefit you and it will help you in developing yourself as a good geographer. Look at geography from the geographer's perspective rather than the perspective of an economist or a sociologist. So here now onwards, when it comes to the human economic topics, we need to more differentiate from the sociologist and the anthropologist and the other field of studies. Like if we study tribe, say there is a sociologist who is trying to study a tribe. Now, tribe for him is a centripetal society who is worshipping a Thakur or a god, or he is a naturalist, and his animism aspect and all, his backwardness, his lifestyle, his rituals, his practices, all will be studied by a sociologist. But how we geographers are different from sociologists? We will study the habitat and we will see the impact of habitat. So habitat in the sense in which ecological setup, whether he is living on plain or plateau or sand or coastal area or mountain top. So we see the habitat and we see the habitat impact and the climatic impact on that so-called tribe. And our study of his economic behavior, our study of his social behavior, his rituals and practices and belief and faith, they are social behavior. His hunting, his gathering, his food making, and his economic, his economic life, they all come under the economic behavior, right? So his social and economic behavior for us, for geographers, will be a matter of his ecological studies. So we try from the ecological perspective, and then we differentiate geography from the rest of the whatever scientist, social scientist or something. Similarly, if there is a question, let me continue. If there is a question on city planning, on a smart city in geography paper 2, and say the same question has come in sociology, the same question, urbanization, is a topic in sociology also, and say the same question has come in general studies. So you can't, as a geographer, you have to differentiate from these two. That is where you will get marks. So for a smart city, we have to talk about the iron grid pattern and how the roads, the structure of the road. So we include some part of engineering here also, right? Because we add science, right? We will not talk about that what facilities will be given in a smart city, transportation, communication, channel, and IT and computerization. That is part of the economists, the sociologists will do, see the impact, etc. But we geographers, we will include some part of civil engineering as well. And then in a smart city, our perspective will be again ecological, that how, when a smart city is created, how the excavations have to be done, and how the infrastructure has to be created so that it could not negatively impact the groundwater resources. So we have to see the geohydrological map as well, and we have to see the green belts which shall be created in a planned city, in a smart city. Green belt concept we have to bring in there, and we have to see the urban environment and the protection of the urban environment and the control of the pollution, etc. So we geographers become little different from, our approach is different from what a sociologist do or what a student of general studies has to do. So that is what you are going to learn after oceanography, because we will be now sailing into the real geography, like geomorphology, and then the concept of climatology, then to biogeography, bioenvironmental geography, and then all these physical concepts will be used in the human and economic geography. And that is what will make you a great scorer in civil services also, because our professors are really great. And the kind of questions which they create, it simply shows their abilities, their greatness, right? Thank you.